Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Hey Amud Beis 5b of Maseches Brachos. We're starting 3 lines from the bottom of the page with the new brisa. The brisa says Tanya Abba Binyamin Omer. So we had already quoted a brisa from Abba Binyamin, and therefore we are now going to quote numerous other brisas from Abba Binyamin. So the first is as follows: Abba Binyamin Omer, Shnayim shenichnasu leispala. If 2 people enter a place to daven, V'kadam echad mehem leispala, and one of them davened first, or finished davening first. V'lo himting es chaveiro v'yatzan, he didn't wait for his friend, and he left. Torfin lo tfilasa b'fanav, his tefillah gets torn up in front of him. I saw in the Safari they translate it, Steinsaltz, it gets thrown back in his face. I think also torif just means to rip apart. It gets ripped apart in his face. So if a person doesn't wait for their friend to finish and they leave their friend davening behind them, their tefillah gets ripped up in their face. Shenamar, what's the source for this? It says in the pasuk, in Eov, it says, Toref nafsho be'apo, literally means he tears apart, he destroys himself in his anger. Halemancha ta'azov aretz. Is it, or te'azav aretz. For you, the land is abandoned. Or it's a question maybe. Halamancha te'azav aretz. Because of you, the land will be abandoned. So that's the pasuk. What is our Gemara doing with it? What does Abba Binyamin see in this pasuk that says he tears up himself in his anger? Is it for you that does he abandon the land because of you? So Rashi explains that Toref nafsho, your soul, but it can also refer to tefillah. Rashi says, like we have va'eshboches nafshi lifnei Hashem, I pour out my soul before Hashem. So the soul is associated with tefillah. So Toref nafsho, he tears up the tefillah of his soul be'apo, in his anger, but be'apo af could be like in front of him, in his face. So he tears up his tefillah in his face. Halemancha te'azev aretz. That Hashem says, you think because of you, halamancha, because of you, that he abandons the land, he leaves, the Shechina leaves. What does this all mean? I think what it's saying is that because he leaves his friend, so his friend's davening is going to be distracted and disturbed. Marsha seems to say this. So if a person is left, you might say if he's left by himself, he'll have a better tefillah. But no, he gets nervous, he's scared, he's by himself. So when you leave, you affect your friend's tefillah, and that's why if you, the Maharsha says, mida k'neged mida, measure for measure. If you mess up his tefillah, your tefillah gets messed up. But the pasuk is expressing is halamancha te'azev aretz. You think that because you left, the Shechina leaves and the other person's davening doesn't matter? No, the other person's davening is important too. So don't leave and ruin his davening by leaving. So if a person, if it's just 2 people left in a room and one of them is still davening, the other one should not leave because he ruins his friend's davening as a result. And Abba Binyamin says, and the person who leaves gets his tefillah torn up. And not only that, in general, he causes the Shechina, Hashem's presence, to leave Israel. Shenemar vayatek tzur mimkomo. That's the end of the pasuk. V'yatak tzur mimkomo. That the tzur, the rock, is removed from its place. Ve'in tzur el HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What's the rock? The rock is Hashem. Shenemar, as it says, tzur yilad chotashi. It says in Hazino, the rock gave birth to you, or you forgot the rock that gave birth to you. But it refers to Hashem as a rock. So it causes the Shechina to leave. And I think here also the idea is that to leave his friend is a lack of unity, of achdus. and the Shekhinah is only present when there's oneness, when there's achdus. So by leaving his friend, by abandoning him, he causes strife and dissension, and that causes the Shekhinah to leave. Vim himtin lo, and if he waits for him though, mas secharo, what is his reward for waiting for his friend? Top of the next page. Amar Rabbi Yossi b'Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina says, Zocha lebrachos halalu. He merits the following blessings. Shenemar, as it says. Pasuk says in Yeshaya, it says, Lu hikshafta lemitzvosai. If only you had listened to my mitzvos. But hikshafta also could be waited. If you had waited lemitzvosai because of my mitzvos, which Rashi says means which mitzvah? Gmilas chasadim. Have you done the chesed for your friend to wait for him? Then what does it say? Vayihi chanahar shlomecha, your peace would be like a river, v'tidkascha kigali hayam, and your righteousness like the waves of the sea. Vayihi chachol zarecha, and your offspring like the sand, v'tzetzai meyecha, and the offspring of your womb, of your stomach. And the end of that pasuk says, Lo yikaris v'lo yishamed, the Shmo Melafana, his name won't be cut off or destroyed. So protection and good things come to the person who is hikshavta lemitzvosai, who literally listens to the mitzvos, but in the drash we're saying it means he waits because of the mitzvah of chesed, he waits for his friend. Now, the question would be, does this apply nowadays? Because if the reason is that by leaving you leave your friend scared because there's nobody there and he's not going to daven properly, so maybe it only applies in a field or in a dangerous place. It used to be that they daven in the field. So that's what Tosfos says in the name of Rabbeinu Tam, that this was only in the shuls of those days, which were in the fields, and therefore you should wait for him, because otherwise you leave him and he'll be nervous and will ruin his davening, and it's a lack of unity. And then Tosfos says that the Rabbeinu Yitzchak, would daven very long, and everybody would leave. And if anybody would come in the meanwhile, I think, and start to daven while just he was there, Rabbeinu Yitzchak, he would wait for him. He would learn, he says, until the other person finished. V'na'eh lahachmir aflanu. Tosfos says it's proper, it's nice for us to be stringent as well. So even though Rabbeinu Tam said it doesn't necessarily apply nowadays, Tosfos says it is proper, it's nice to still be strict about this. And it is something that people are strict about. If there's one person left davening, that you should wait for them. Tanya, we're learning another brayso. Abba ben Yamin says, Ilmali nitna rishus la'ayin liros. So another unrelated statement of Abba ben Yamin. If the eye had been given permission to see all the shadim, all the demons that are around, Ein kol bria yichol amod b'nei mazikin. No being could stand from all the mazikin, all the shadim, all the demons that are around. Amar Abaye. Abaye says, Inhu nefishi minan. There's more of them than us. V'kaimi alon ki kasla le'ugya. They're around us like the trench around the ugya, which is around the grape vines, the grape trees. It's some kind of trench to catch water, and it's basically like a circle. So the point is that they encircle us. They're all over, these demons, these mazikin. Rav Huna says, Kol chad v'chad minan, every one of us, alpha misma'ila, there's 1,000 demons on his left, v'rivavasa miyamine, and there's 10,000 on his right. Amar Rava says, Haidochka dahave bekala. When you go to a shir and there seems to be space, but you feel squished anyways, minayu have. That's because of the demons. They're taking up space. They're the ones who are making you feel squished. Hani barchi deshili, if your knees are tired, minayo, it's because of the demons. Hani mani de rabbanan de balu, those, the clothes of the sages that they wither, they wear out. Now they're not working in the fields or rubbing against rocks. They're in the base medrash. Why would their clothes wear out? Mechufya didhu. It's because of the mazikin, the demons that are rubbing against their clothes. Hanikari demenakvan. When a person's legs are in pain, minayo, it's because of them. So our Gemara reports that there are lots of shadim around. I did see in an unrelated place that I think it was in Rav Schwab. Rav Schwab says that he thinks that times have changed, and I didn't read it exact. It wasn't on this Gemara, but he was commenting on something, and he thinks that over the years the kind of the spiritual beings around have diminished. So it could be that this was in the times of the Gemara, but is no longer the case nowadays. Now, the Gemara continues on the topic of shadim, of maziking, of demons, and it tells us how you can detect them. So, Haiman de Ba'ilim Meidalahu, if you want to know if they're around, Laisi Kitma Nahila, take some finely ground up ashes, or fine ashes, Vinahader Apuria, and put them on the bed, Uvitzafra Chaziki Kari de Tarnagola, and in the morning you're going to see little chicken feet, pecks, or chicken footprints on the ashes, and you'll know that the demons were there. Haiman de Ba'ilim Achazinu, if you want to see them with your own eyes, Leisi Shil Yasa Deshun Rasa Uchmasa, find the placenta of a black cat. Bas Uchmasa Buchrasa. This black cat has to be the daughter of another black cat, a firstborn. Bas Buchrasa, the daughter of another firstborn. So a third generation, a black cat who's the daughter of a firstborn mother, who's the daughter of a firstborn mother. And what you do with this black cat, Vilakalia Benura, burning a fire, Ulashachke, and then grind it up, Vilimli Einemine, and fill your eyes with, I guess, the ashes or the burnt up cat. V'chazilu, and then you'll be able to see them. V'lishdaya beguvsa de parsal. Now, to preserve this stuff, you should put it in an iron tube. V'lechasme begushpanka de parzala, and seal it with an iron seal. And that apparently is demon-proof. Dilma ganvi mine, otherwise you have to be concerned they might steal it from you. So, but if you want to protect it from the demons, so put it in a iron tube and seal it with an iron seal. And that's demon protective. V'lachtom pumi, now close off the mouth. I wasn't sure actually if this means the mouth of the thing or your own mouth. I thought maybe it means the person doing it has to close their mouth, so he doesn't get damaged from it. So he puts it on his eyes, but he should close his mouth. Rabbi bar Abaye avad hachi. Rabbi bar Abaye, he made this concoction. Chaza, he saw the demons, but he was damaged by it. The Rabban davened for him and he was cured. Okay, so that's Abba ben Yamin's teachings about demons. Now a separate teaching. Tanya Abba ben Yamin Omer. Ein tefillah shel adam nishmas ela beis hakneses. A person's tefillah is only heard in a shul. Now when it says only heard in a shul, it doesn't mean only heard in a shul, but it means it's best heard in a beis knesses. Shenamar, as the pasuk says, lishmoa el harina ve'ela tefillah. That Hashem, it's a pasuk in Melachim, I want to say, in Melachim, and it says that he listens. Shlomo HaMelech says that Hashem listens to the Rina and the Tefillah. Rina is praise, Tefillah is supplication. So where does one supplicate? In the place where they praise. B'makam Rina shamte Tefillah. In the place of praise, that's where you should have Tefillah. And where is the place of praise? So that's the Beis Knesses, that's in the shul. As Rashi says, that's where the tzibur gathers to say shiras v'sishbachos b'ni'imas kol arev. That's where they gather to sing songs and praise to Hashem in beautiful voices. So that should also be the place of supplications. Amar Ravim Barav Adar Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. So continuing on this topic, how do we know that Kadosh Baruch Hu's presence is found in the Beis Knesset, in the shul? Shenemar, as it says, Elokim nitzav ba'adas kel. Hashem stands in the adas kel, in the congregation of God, but it means, according to this, in the gathering place of God. Adas we here mean the gathering place of God. Hashem is found in the gathering place of God in the Beis Knesset. Uminayin la'asar shemispalim shechina b'imayim. How do we know that when 10 people daven, Hashem's divine presence is with them? Shenemar, the same pasuk, it says, Elokim nitzav ba'adas kel. Hashem stands in the adas kel, in the congregation of kel. And what is Ada? Ada, we learn elsewhere, means a congregation, but it means a minyan. So Hashem is in the presence of a minyan. Uminayin l'shlosha sheyoshvim b'din sheshchina imam. How do we know that when 3 people sit in judgment, 3 judges sit to judge a case, that the Shechina is with them, Hashem's presence is with them? Shenemar, as it says, in Tehillim it says, B'kerev Elo, it's the same pasuk actually, B'kerev Elohim Yishbot, that amongst judges, Elohim here is judges, amongst judges, Yishbot, he will judge, Hashem will judge. So he's there with the judges judging. So we see that if you have 3 judges, Hashem is there too. How do we know that 2 people sitting and learning Torah, the Shechina, Hashem's presence is with them? Shenemar, as it says, in Malachi it says, Az nidberu yirei Hashem. Then those who fear God spoke one to another, were spoken to, Ishas Re'eu, one to his friend, and it says, Vayakshev Hashem Vayishma, and Hashem listened, or he was attentive and he heard. And the end of that pasuk is Vayikasev Sefer Zikaron Lefanav, and he wrote, or it was written, a book of remembrance before him. Li'irei Hashem L'chosh V'shmot, those who fear Hashem and those who think of His name. So it says there that when you have Nidberu Yirei Hashem Ishas Re'eu, when you have those who fear God speaking one to the other, meaning speaking in Torah, so then you have Vayakshev Hashem Vayishma, that Hashem is attentive and listens. Hashem is there with them when they are learning. Now, the end of that pasuk said, Ulechosh Veshmo, those who think of His name. Ask the Gemara, Maya Ulechosh Veshmo, what does it mean, those who think of His name? Rav Ashi says, what it teaches you is, Chishev Adam Lasus Mitzvah, V'nenas, like a person intended, he thought of God's name, he thought to do a mitzvah, and an ones came, something out of his control happening, he couldn't do the mitzvah, v'lo asa, he didn't do it, ma'ala ravakasav ki'lu asa, the Torah considers it as if he did it. That's why we value Chosh Veshma, those who just think of His name but don't actually have a chance to follow through, because an ones happens, but they still are put on the same list, I guess, as Yirei Hashem, those who fear Hashem, and it's given significance, even though they just think. Chosh Veshmo is itself something that's noteworthy. How do we know that even one person sitting and learning Torah, Hashem's presence is with him? Shenemar, as it says, in any place that you remember my name, I will come to you and bless you. And when you learn Torah, you're remembering Hashem's name because you're learning His mitzvos, you're learning His commandments, you're remembering Him. So when you're remembering Hashem, He comes and blesses you. But He's there, He's present with us. Okay, so we had that Hashem is, first of all, in the shul. His presence, the Shekhinah is in the shul, the presence is with the minyan, presence is with 3 judges, presence is with 2 people learning Torah, and His presence is with even 1 person learning Torah. So ask the Gemara, if Hashem's presence is even with 1, Trei mibayi, you need to tell me 2? Yeah, why do you have to tell me 2? If even with 1, so of course with 2. Says the Gemara, you're right, but Trei michtavan milaya b'sefer as yichronos. There's an additional point when there's 2 people, which is, as the pasuk said, there is Vayikasev Sefer Zikaron, a book of remembrance is written, that their learning or their Torah is written in a Sefer HaZichrono, some kind of book of remembrance. There's a certain greater level of remembrance when it's before Hashem, when it's 2 people And that's why it lists that separate, because of that aspect which is added on. But if it's just one person, it's not as powerful, and you don't have that his learning is written in this book of remembrance. Now, if it's true when two people are singing and learning, so by three judges, do you need to tell me that Hashem's presence is there? Says the Gemara, yes, I would have thought that judging is not Torah, it's just shlama, it's making peace, it's running a society. But why would I think that the Shekhinah is there? The Shekhinah doesn't come. Kamash Malan to Dina Nami Hainu Torah. What it comes to teach you is no, Dina is Torah. Judging based on Torah law is discussing Torah matters, exploring Torah matters, and that's Torah also, and therefore the Shekhinah is present there as well. Now, if it's true that even by three, Hashem's presence is there, do you need to tell me that Hashem's presence is there when there are 10? So answers the Gemara, Kadma Shechina v'Asya Tvasa Adiyasvi. Asara Kadma Shechina v'Asya. When there's 10, the Shechina comes before and waits for them. Tvasa Adiyasvi. But by 3, it's only after they sit and kind of begin, then the Shechina comes. But when it's 10, the Shechina awaits them. And that's derived from the pasuk that says, by 10 it says, Hashem, he's Nitza ba'ad daskel, he stands in the congregation of God. Nitzav sounds like he's already standing there, waiting. Before they come even, the Shechina is present. Okay. Amar Rav Avin bar Rav Ada Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rav Avin bar Rav Ada, second the name of Rabbi Yitzchak. Minayin shakadosh Baruch Hu maniach tefillin. How do we know that Kadosh Baruch Hu wears tefillin? Shenemar, as it says, Nishba Hashem b'yamino. It's a pasuk in Yeshaya. It says Hashem swears on his right, ubizroa, and on his arm, which would refer to the left, uzo is his strength. So what does it mean his right and his left? So b'yamino, he swears on his right, zu Torah. That's Torah. Shenemar, as it says, mimino eish das lamo. It says in V'zos HaBracha, it says on his right, meaning is the fire of the law for them. So that's the Torah. So on his right is Torah. So when it says he swears on his right, it means on Torah. Okay. Ubizroa uzo elu tefillin. But when it says on his left is uzo, is his might, that refers to tefillin. Tefillin is on his left. Shenemar, as it says, Hashem oz lam o yitain. It says Hashem gives might to his nation. Uminayin she'at tefillin oz. How do we know that refers to tefillin? That tefillin is called might. Heim u'yisra. How do we know it's our oz, it's our might? D'chsib, because it says Uru'u kol ha'me'aretz k'shem Hashem nikar lecha v'yaru mimeka. That all the nations of the world will see that the name of God is written upon you, and they'll be afraid of you. V'tanya, we're learning a brisa. Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol Omer. Rabbi Eliezer HaGadol says, Elu tefillin sheberosh. That refers to the tefillin of the head. So it says that the nations of the world will see that the name of God is upon you and they'll be afraid of you. And that refers to tefillin of the head. So you see that it strikes fear in the nations, so that is our might. And if it's our might, so then when it says, Hashem oz lam o yitain, Hashem gives oz to his nation, it's referring to our tefillin. And if oz refers to tefillin, so bizroa uzo on his left is uzo is his might, that refers to tefillin. Okay, now Amar li Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Rav Chia bar Avin. So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak said to Rav Chia bar Avin. It's interesting. This may be the two sons having a conversation. The original statement was Amar Avin bar Rav Ada Amar Rav Yitzchak. Rav Avin said that Rav Yitzchak said. And now we have the son of Rav Avin. Sorry, we have the son of Rav Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, saying to Rav Chia bar Avin. And what is he saying? He asked him, Hani tefillin de Mariama maksibu. So you said, your father said that, in the name of my father, I guess, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wears tefillin, assuming these are the sons, but in any event, it was said that Hashem wears tefillin. So what's written in those tefillin? In our tefillin, it has the end of Parshas Bo, Kadosh Li Kol Bechor, and two parshas there that mention tefillin and Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Exodus, and we have the first two chapters of Shema. That's what's in our tefillin. What's in Hashem's tefillin? Amar lei, he said to him, it says, Umika Amcha Yisrael Gayachad Ba'aretz. Who is like you? Who's like your nation Israel? One nation in the land. It's a praise. Who's like? There's no one like the Jewish people. Ask the Gemara, Does Hashem get praise from the praise of Israel? Says the Gemara yes, that's the praise of Israel is Hashem's praise. Tichsev, as it says, as Hashem ha'amarta hayom, it says that you have dedicated, set aside Hashem to be ours. V'Hashem ha'amircha hayom, Hashem has set aside you. Amar l'HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yisrael, Hashem says to the Jewish people, Atem asisuni chativa achas ba'olam. You've made me into like one in the world, one piece. I'll make you one piece in the world. Atem asisuni chativa achas ba'olam. You made me one piece in the world. Shenemar, as it says, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. That we say, Shema Yisrael, listen Israel, Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. So we make Hashem chativa achas, one unique piece, one. We speak of his oneness. Hashem says, I will make you one piece in the world. Shnemar, who's like Israel? They're one nation in the world. There's just one like them. So we say there's only one like Hashem. There's only one Hashem. Hashem says there's only one nation like Israel. We each praise each other, and it seems that praise of us is, in a certain sense, a praise of Hashem, because it reflects the praise of Hashem as being one. That's what I think it's saying. So, okay, so Amarle, Rav Acha, Breidu Rava, Rav Ashi. Rav Acha, the son of Rava, said to Rav Ashi, Teinach b'chad beisa. So now I know one of the parshas that sing Hashem's tefillin. It's Mika Amcha Yisrael, who's like your nation Israel. So that's one bias of tefillin, one section. But b'shar bati mai, but what's in the rest of them? So a tefillin shel rosh has 4 boxes. It's one box, but it's 4 sections. So the head tefillin. So what's in each one? I know what's in one of them, but what's in the other ones? Amarle, he said to him, he gave him the following list of verses, other verses that praise the Jewish people. It says, Kimi Gai Gadol, who is this great nation? Who's like this great nation? And it also says, Umi Gai Gadol, who is a great nation like them? And that's 2. And it says, Ashrecha Yisrael Mikamocha, fortunate or praised is Israel, who's like you. And then it says, that's a 3rd. And it says, Oh Hanisal Him, has God attempted to take a nation from another nation, like he did for you. That's 4. And it says, and it says, and to place you on high. That's 5. So besides for Mikam Yisrael, we have 5 other verses that are in the tefillin. So Yihachi asked the Gemara, if so, Nefishivu Tuvi. But then there's too many boxes. We only have 4 boxes in tefillin. That's 6 psukim. Elas, or rather, what you have to say is, Kimi Gai Gadol, Mi Gai Gadol, D'Damim La'adadi B'chad Beisa. The 2 first psukim we mentioned here, who is like this great nation, and who is a great nation, those 2 are in one box. They're very similar. They're actually also back-to-back verses, so they go in one box. And Ashrecha Yisrael, Umika Amcha Yisrael B'chad Beisa. Those are not near each other, but 2 similar verses. It says, Ashrecha Yisrael, Mi Kamocha, who's like you, and it says, Mi Kamcha Yisrael, who's like you. Those are very similar. Those go in one box. Oh, Hanisal Elokim B'chad Beisa. Hanisal Elokim is in one. Has any guy attempted to take out another nation like he did for you? That's in the 3rd box. And L'sitcha Elyon, to place you on high, B'chad Beisa, that's the 4th box. V'kulo, top of the next page, Ksivi Ba'adrai. And they're all in the Tefillin Shel Yad. The Tefillin Shel Yad, the hand tefillin, that has only one compartment, and it's all one scroll, and all of them are written on that one scroll. Just like in the tefillin that we wear, there's 4 parshas, and the Tefillin Shel Rosh, each parsha is in a separate compartment, separate scroll in a separate compartment. But on Tefillin Shel Yad, they're all in one scroll, in one compartment. It's the same thing for Hashem's tefillin. We're saying there's 4 compartments, and there's actually 6 psukim that are 6 psukim that are divided into those 4 sections, but in the shel yad, in the hand, it's all on one parchment. Now, just to close, obviously Hashem doesn't actually literally wear tefillin. Hashem is not corporal, doesn't have a body, doesn't have leather, doesn't have straps, doesn't have boxes, doesn't have parchment. So what is this Gemara trying to express? So I'm sure there are many deep ideas about it, but the Maharsha says that the thrust of the Gemara is saying that when we tie tefillin to us, we are basically tying ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem, and attaching ourselves, cleaving to Him, and dedicating ourselves. And similarly, what the Gemara is expressing is Hashem does the same towards us. He attaches us to Him. He dedicates Himself to us, and that's what it's trying to express. This Gemara, by saying that Hashem wears tefillin, that speaks to the praise of Hashem. It's that Hashem is tying us to Himself, so to speak, drawing us near, and saying that He's there for us, and we're I don't want to say an extension of Him, but we are His representatives, and there's that special relationship is captured by this concept that Hashem has our praise on His tefillin. Okay, we will pick up from the top of 6b next time.